Hey, what's going on everybody, and welcome back to the Whiskey Cove. And on today's episode, we asked the question, just how good is Old Fitzgerald Bourbon? Let's find out. Run the video. Alrighty then folks, welcome back to another new and exciting episode of the Whiskey Cove. To all the subscribers, new, past and present, thank you so much to engaging with the channel, for giving us your trust about bringing you the latest and greatest in whiskey news, reviews and so much more. With that being said, if you're not a subscriber, today is an excellent time to do that as we approach the 5,000 subscriber free giveaway. If you want to win one of 6 bottles, 5 have been announced and 1 is on hold just right now, you need to do 2 major things after this video, of course. First, you definitely need to be a subscriber, because we will be checking sadly. And then secondly, you need to go over to the Whiskey Cove website. The link is down below in the description. You need to go to the Shop All tab, and then you need to select the free giveaway, where you will sign up and your name will be in the draw for one of these next 5 and then eventually 6 bottles. So we have Old Forester single barrel strength, Early Times Bottled and Bond, the black top brown Foreman, Weller 107 OWA, and then the last 2 are E.H.Taylor small batch and then Willet 4-year rye. So you can sign up for the free giveaway and it doesn't cost you anything. It doesn't cost you shipping. There are some FAQs down below, so you do need to be 21, some other small specific things. But you do just need to look out for when the 5,000 free live subscriber giveaway is, and then you can check to see if you have won. So with that being said, let's get these lottery balls out of here and then let's get on with today's video, shall we? So in front of us, we have 2 offerings from Old Fitzgerald, owned by Heaven Hill. We have this first one, aged 9 years in the spring of 2020, coming in at 50% ABV or 100 proof because it is bottled in bond. And then we also have a 19-year-old. This is from the fall of 2022, bottled in bond again, so 50% ABV or 100 proof. And we just lost some of the text strip, which is very easy to break on these as it is, but as you can see, it's just kind of jumping off the bottle. So I was looking for these for quite a while, not these specific ones, but forever I could not find a bottle of Old Fitzgerald. Of course, much like a lot of you folks out there, I was able to get Pappy 12 and George T. Stagg before I was able to get some of these. So that should tell you everything that you need to know in terms of how rare these are in Colorado. I was able to get this just from a lottery, and again from this, just 2 lottery balls. I got lucky, spent some money, and I got my name into the bucket, and we won here. So what we'll do is we'll taste through them. We will do the 9 first, and then we'll move over to the 19. So I could have done this video a while ago. And I know that a lot of you, the subscribers at home there, have noticed that I've had these sitting on the shelves and been kind of calling for reviews. But I wanted to leave these bottles to I give it as much time to open up. Yeah, this one has been open for a while, but the 19 I have only had in like the last 3, 4, 5 months. So I wanted to give this as best shot as I had, or as I can. So I have tried this. Obviously, I've tried them both, but I haven't tried it for a few months. I tried it as soon as I got it. And so today we'll see if it's changed much at all, for the best or for the worst. I guess we will find out. So let's go for the 9 here. And I'm not a big fan of opening these bottles because it just like, they get stuck in there so much. It is a real cork. They seem to hold up okay. Every time I pull them off, I kind of feel like the cork might get stuck in there, but it comes off every time, so I appreciate that. And of course, we don't need to say too much about the bottles here because they are absolutely beautiful. Let's be honest, they are just stunning. They will not look out of place on anybody's shelf. You can have them in the kitchen, in the dining room, next to the TV, in your basement bar. You can have them anywhere, and they are just beautiful. I'm not sure if they're crystal or just glass, but as soon as I'm finished drinking with them, I'm definitely going to use them for decanters. So again, this is the bottled in bond from the spring of 2020, aged 9 years. You don't see many of the aged 9 years. It's normally the aged 8 years that you get here. I think I had to pay about $100 for this, which isn't too bad, all things considered, and that was MSRP roughly. So that's going for a kind of a take on what it looks like in the glass. It is a little bit of a darker color, kind of almost leaning into the mahogany, but also amber at this point. It does look quite viscous actually. It's really holding on to the side of the glass quite well, which is always a good sign. With that being said, let's go in for a nose. Old Fitzgerald 9 year. Not too spicy on the nose whatsoever. I'm just getting a lot of sweetness. Kind of like a caramel Hershey sauce that folks put on ice cream or in milkshakes, I guess. There's definitely a really nice wood presence there as well. And almost like a marzipan type note there, which is a good note for me. Kind of reminds you of like an Italian liqueur. We have this cake in the UK. It's called Battenberg, and it's like a vanilla marzipan Italian cream flavored cake. Put it on the screen here, and has vibes of that. But very sweet, a little bit of wood, not much spice there at all, no heat whatsoever. Let's go in for a taste here. So immediately, I get a beautiful like cherry cola note. Not like a Coca-Cola cherry cola that you'll find in the store. But you know, sometimes you'll go to like a barbecue joint or just like a restaurant that's kind of off the beaten path, and you'll see some of these like craft or like original type colas. It kind of has some of those vibes, like more of like a traditional spicy cola, so to speak. Immediately still with a really rich mouthfeel that we have here. It's not much heat there as well. There's no ABV heat in this, almost just nowhere to be seen. But there is some spice. Like as soon as I tasted it, you get that richy caramel sweetness that hits your palate, and then there's almost like a flick on the front of your tongue. I don't know if maybe this is just me, but sometimes, you know, when you're like really young, you used to mess around with people, you would flick them, and that would happen, and someone would flick the front of your tongue. It kind of has that sting right on your tongue there, but that dissipates straight away, and that kind of comes from a bit of spice that's in there. But apart from that, it's very well balanced. And I want to go in for one more taste here, and then we'll pick it apart even more. That cherry cola note is just a perfect descriptor for this, and then it just backs it up with a really, really nice wood presence there as well. It's almost more of like I don't want to say it's like a resiny, piney note, but it's almost like pine flavor without the resin. It's very approachable, very rich. It has an excellent mouthfeel. So disclaimer for this bottle, when I opened it, I didn't think it was that good. And I think it's a bit of a trend for me with Heaven Hill products. And I've kind of learned my lesson with the Elijah Craig 18, which is why I wanted to leave these, specifically this one, a little bit more time to open up. When I crack open Buffalo Trace products, I'll drink them straight away and they taste fantastic. And they'll continue to taste about that level. But there's just something about a lot of Heaven Hill stuff that needs time to open up. And we're not talking a couple of weeks, we're talking a couple of months to really bring the best that whiskey has to offer. So we are grading it from the MSRP that I paid for it, so $100. With that being said, you're getting a lot of bottle, and even though you're probably thinking, well, what has bottle got to do with the whiskey when you're grading the value for money? Well, when we grade the value for money, we'll take the branding, the bottle, the whiskey, all under consideration, the brand. It's just when we do the score, we specifically talk about the whiskey. So for value for money, $100 for this. Come on, this is pretty cool. I'm gonna give it I'm kind of bouncing between an A and a B. I'm gonna go for a B just because it is an 8-year whiskey, so that kind of brings it back in a little bit. But all in all, I think that's an excellent score for an Old Fitzgerald for value for money, because they generally do sit on the pricier side. So score of 100. And this is probably the most I've enjoyed this whiskey to date, which again speaks volumes from just letting it rest and sit a little bit. So I'm gonna give this an 84, which is pretty high, much higher than what I would thought, what I thought I would give this whiskey, until every time I went back and it got better and better and better. So that's a solid score so far. So value for money, B, score of 100, 84 for an 9-year Old Fitzgerald. So let's put that to the side. Let's cleanse our palate, reset a few things, and then we'll delve into the big brother, the 19. All right then, folks, it's been a little while here, so then let's delve into the 19. Like we said, it is bottled in bond from the fall of 2022. Did win this in a lottery. I think it was around February and March time. Argonaut Wine and Liquor, thank you to the folks down there. Fall of 2022, bottled in bond, 19 years old. Has exactly the same thing going on here, but has your black and then gold on the outside, where this has like green and then gold on the outside with red right now. So very similar, just that label bit there is a little different. So I did already pull this cork out, so it shouldn't be too hard to get it out. But again, real cork, and I'm always so worried about tearing the cork off, because you can see it doesn't sit inside the glass, it sits straight on top of it. So that glue must be pretty well done. But again, pretty heavy. I love it. I love it. I think that these bottles are excellently designed. This is probably a nightmare to ship them, just because how like awkward the tax stamp is on that, and how easy that is to break. When I say ship, I mean from the distillery to you folks at home. So then let's pour this in the glass here. These are just, I don't want to get caught up in just how cool these bottles are to impact the score too much, but I will let it impact value for money because we take that into consideration. So then just looking at the whiskey in the glass, and it is a shade darker than the first one. That was more of like an amber with a touch of mahogany. This is just straight dark, straight mahogany. Maybe a small couple of like almost like dust particles inside. Much like its younger brother, it does also do an excellent job of just really sit into that glass. Like I am just rolling it, and it just kind of, you can see it just, well, you might not be able to see it, I can see it. It's just sticking to the glass so well, just clinging on for dear life, which is always a very good sign, I feel like anyway. With that being said, let's go in for a nose. Old Fitzgerald 19. So I'm definitely getting a maraschino cherry note is definitely on here. Very similar, that Battenberg Italian Di Serrano note is definitely here, and it kind of blends really well with that cherry note, because Italian amaretto is basically all cherry when you smell it, with like a really nice rich syrupy sweetness through it. And it's definitely, if I pick this up and I pick Di Serrano up, yes, I probably will be able to tell that that's an Italian amaretto, but this has so much of that hallmark in there, and that's a really good thing because I really like that note. Get that vanilla in there, almost like a strawberry shortcake as well, or like a strawberry Pop-Tart. I don't like to use Pop-Tarts as a frame of reference, but they have so many different flavors, and they're always backed up with like plenty of like sugar on top, sprinkles, and savory notes. There's a lot of similarities to whiskey in a way, so it does have like strawberry Pop-Tart shortcake type notes. But again, much like the 9-year, there's just no heat on the nose, and with this one there's no spice there as well. This is just sweet, rich Italian Di Serrano, cherry, vanillas. It's beautiful. It's a fantastic nose. And surprisingly, I am getting a little bit of age and wood, but nowhere near what you would expect from a 19-year-old bourbon. Because there's a lot of people in the whiskey world that will tell you that 19 years of age in bourbon is too much. A lot of stuff can become over-oaked, and I guess we might find out today some of that, or we might not. However, on the nose, it just kind of quashes a lot of them, those kind of sayings. People tend to think that bourbon sits the best of 15 years, and that's not me saying that, that's public opinion. However, let's go in for a taste. Old Fitzgerald. So first impressions, it's really rich on the palate. It does an excellent job at really coating all areas of your mouth, especially the tongue, but it hits kind of the upper side of your mouth, the roof of your mouth, and the cheeks as well. And that never really goes away throughout the whole tasting of this whiskey, which is great. It definitely makes for a very pleasant experience. You get a lot of sweetness up front. You get some of those like strawberry Pop-Tart type notes. That cherry's still there. That Italian cream is still there. The vanillas are also still there as well. You get a little bit of spice, not quite clovey, but something like a star anise. And then also as well, to back that up, you do get a decent amount of oak that comes through, but it's not too dry. It's not too dusty, it's not too overpowering, it's not too spicy. It's the perfect amount of oak that kind of waves it in and kind of separates some of that sweetness there as well. Let's go in for another taste to see if we can pick up the finish here. So as what happens with a lot of aged whiskey, and bourbon specifically that I'll drink, it's really hitting me here on the palate, kind of hitting those bottom cheeks. And usually there's a big tell that there's some age in this whiskey, and of course there is because it's 19 year. But when there's something that's non-age stated, or I'm doing a blind, that's a really good tell for me personally. It does share some of those like cola, cherry cola notes that this one does, but the finish understandably is a lot longer than this, as you would expect. Just because it has 19 years, there's the wood that kind of runs that a little bit, the cherryness that runs through as well. The sweetness goes about 3/4. It's not quite there all of the finish, but it's definitely present. So with that being said, let's talk about value for money and rating. So value for money, again, we take into account everything. I'm gonna give this I paid about, what do I pay? I want to say I paid close to $170, which isn't too bad. 170, did I pay $170? I think I paid $170. I paid MSRP, so whatever MSRP, I'll put on the screen. I think it was about $170, but it could be low twos. I've spent too much money on whiskey this year. I hope you will excuse me. With that being said, value for money, everything considered, I do like Elijah Craig 18 a lot, and that's about 160 bucks. And it has quite a lot of similarities to that. So I'm gonna give this a B, just much like that. It could be B or A, but I'm gonna go for a B, just because. No, I'm gonna go for A. I went for B on this one because I said it was only 9 years old. This is 19 years of age, but yes, considerably more. But a 19-year-old bourbon is not something to be sniffed at. It is not something that you see sitting on shelves. It is not something that is just produced on the regular. So to get a 19-year-old bourbon for around possibly 170 or 230, I can't remember what I paid for it, still pretty good value for money. I know that's expensive for a lot of folks, and it still is expensive for me, but I'm able to pick up work and do other things that can help me afford some whiskey and do these videos, I guess. So YouTube seldom pays that much, but every little helps, and you guys support, and I really appreciate that. Thank you to our patrons as well. So with that being said, score of 100, I'm gonna give this 87. I think this is better than this. How much better? Not much. It does have a little bit more sweetness and more of those rounded woody notes, and a little bit more balance there, but nothing that's just, it doesn't, like, I drink this and I know there's a good whiskey. I know there's an expensive whiskey. It's a tasty whiskey. It has a little bit of that X factor, that va-va-voom, but it just doesn't step it up like the George T. Stagg or the Russell Single Rickhouse or the Bomb Burgess. It doesn't quite hit those levels, but it's definitely close there. So 87 out of 100, value for money, A. Of course, if you can find any of these whiskeys, value for money doesn't really play into it too much, because you're always going to buy them if they're at MSRP for the most part. With that being said, I hope you've enjoyed today's video as we've explored these two Old Fitzgerald bottles, and I appreciate your patience there as we took a little while to review them. But with that being said, as we drink through the world's whiskeys one glass at a time, cheers.